Snow drifted endlessly from the dark Chicago sky, soft and beautiful from a distance, cruel and biting to anyone trapped beneath it too long. Downtown streets shimmered beneath thousands of glowing Christmas lights wrapped around trees, storefronts, and iron lampposts. Music spilled from open restaurant doors as couples hurried inside laughing, brushing snow from their coats. Carolers sang near crowded sidewalks while children pressed their mitten-covered hands against giant toy store windows, eyes wide with wonder at dancing mechanical trains and sparkling dolls. Everywhere, the city glowed with warmth. Everywhere, except the narrow corner beside a closed toy shop on West Randolph Street. There, half hidden behind a snow-covered newspaper stand, sat a little girl no older than 13. Her name was Lily. She pulled her thin red coat tighter around herself, though the fabric was ripped near the sleeves and offered almost no protection against the brutal wind cutting through the streets. Snowflakes clung to her dark hair and melted slowly against her pale cheeks. Her boots were soaked through completely, and every few seconds she curled her toes painfully just to keep feeling in them. But she never complained. She simply sat there quietly, knees pulled against her chest, clutching a small broken music box in both hands like it was the only thing holding her together. Because in many ways, it was. The faded gold edges had long since rusted, and one side was cracked from years of wear, but Lily handled it carefully, almost lovingly. It had belonged to her mother. The last thing she had left after the hospital took everything else. A gust of freezing wind rushed through the street, carrying the smell of roasted chestnuts and fresh cinnamon from a nearby holiday market. People passed by her constantly. Expensive boots crunched through snow only feet away. Some glanced at her briefly before looking away again. Others acted as though she didn't exist at all. A little boy tugged on his father's sleeve and pointed toward her. "Dad, why is she sitting there?" The father avoided looking directly at Lily. "Don't stare," he muttered before quickly guiding his son across the street. Lily lowered her eyes to the music box. She had stopped expecting kindness a long time ago. Across the road, a giant television screen played cheerful Christmas advertisements while a Salvation Army bell rang endlessly near the corner. Laughter echoed everywhere. Happiness surrounded her so completely it almost made the loneliness hurt worse. She used to love Christmas. Before the hospitals, before the debt collectors, before her mother's coughing became too weak to ignore. Lily swallowed hard and rubbed her freezing fingers together. For a moment, she carefully twisted the tiny metal key on the side of the music box. Click, click. Nothing happened. The melody hadn't worked in months. Still, she held it close to her chest anyway. Then suddenly, through the blur of snowfall and traffic, she heard the deep rumble of a motorcycle engine approaching slowly down the street. Most vehicles sped past without hesitation, tires slicing through slush as drivers rushed toward warm homes and glowing fireplaces. But this motorcycle slowed near the curb directly across from her. A sleek black bike. The rider sat still for a moment beneath the falling snow before finally removing his helmet. Several pedestrians instantly recognized him. Oh my God. Is that really... It's Keanu Reeves. Keanu Reeves stepped off the motorcycle quietly, dressed in a dark winter coat dusted with snow. Unlike the people rushing around him, he didn't seem distracted by the lights or celebrations. His expression carried the same calm sadness he always seemed to wear, as though he noticed things other people missed. At first, Lily looked away immediately. Celebrities didn't belong in her world. But then she noticed something strange. He wasn't walking toward the restaurant beside him. He was looking at her, not with disgust, not with pity, just concern. Keanu's eyes dropped toward her trembling hands, disappearing inside sleeves far too thin for the weather. Then he noticed the music box she was holding so tightly. For one long second, neither of them spoke. Snow drifted silently between them. Lily's instincts screamed at her to stand up and leave. Months on the streets had taught her one brutal lesson: trust nobody. Promises disappeared. Kindness usually came with conditions, and adults often smiled right before hurting you. Keanu approached slowly, careful not to frighten her. "You eaten anything tonight?" he asked gently. His voice was softer than she expected. Lily immediately shook her head. "I'm fine." It was an automatic lie. Keanu glanced toward the diner, glowing warmly across the street. "There's a place open over there. We could get some food." "We?" A faint smile touched his face. "Yeah, we." Lily tightened her grip on the music box. "I don't want money. I didn't offer money. I don't need help. Either." The words came sharper this time, defensive and fragile at once. Keanu nodded slowly, as if he understood more than she realized. Around them, snow continued piling along the sidewalks while church bells began echoing faintly through downtown, signaling the beginning of Christmas Eve Mass nearby. People moved around them in waves of light and laughter. Still, Keanu didn't leave. Lily looked up at him suspiciously. "Why are you still here?" For a moment, he said nothing. Then, instead of walking away, instead of forcing conversation, instead of pretending not to notice her like everyone else had all night, Keanu Reeves quietly sat down beside her in the snow. Cold wind rushed past them while the church bells rang louder through the glowing city streets. And for the first time in a very long while, Lily no longer felt completely invisible. The church bells continued echoing through the snowy streets, their deep, solemn chimes drifting above the sounds of traffic and distant Christmas music. Snow gathered across the shoulders of Keanu Reeves as he sat quietly beside Lily on the freezing sidewalk, unconcerned with the cold slowly soaking through his dark coat. For several long moments, neither of them spoke. People passing by stared in confusion. Some recognized him instantly and whispered to each other while pretending not to look. A young couple slowed near the corner, shocked to see a world-famous actor sitting beside a homeless girl in the snow like an old friend. Keanu ignored all of it. His attention stayed on Lily. She kept her eyes lowered toward the broken music box in her hands, though her small fingers trembled violently now from the cold. Up close, Keanu could see just how exhausted she looked. The dark circles beneath, her eyes, the cracked skin on her knuckles, the quiet alertness of someone who had learned to survive by never fully relaxing. "You're freezing," he said softly. "I'm used to it." "That doesn't make it okay." Lily didn't answer. A gust of wind tore through the street hard enough to send snow swirling around them. Lily instinctively curled tighter into herself. Without making a big gesture about it, Keanu slowly removed one glove and held it out toward her. She stared at it suspiciously. "I'll give it back," she muttered. "You can keep it." "I said I don't want charity." Keanu nodded once. "Then think of it as two people trying not to freeze to death." That almost made her smile. Almost. Carefully, like accepting something dangerous, Lily took the glove and slipped it onto her hand. Warmth immediately spread through her frozen fingers, and the feeling nearly overwhelmed her. She had forgotten what warmth felt like. Keanu noticed the way she avoided eye contact whenever anyone walked too close. Survival instincts, fear, shame. He recognized them more than she realized. "What's your name?" he asked. She hesitated. "Lily." "That's a beautiful name." "My mom picked it." The second the words left her mouth, her expression changed. Pain flickered across her face so quickly most people would have missed it, but Keanu didn't. "She gave you the music box?" he asked carefully. Lily nodded, brushing snow off. The cracked lid. "It used to play music." "What happened to it?" "It broke." The answer sounded deeper than the object itself. Keanu looked down at the music box. tiny painted flowers still decorated the faded surface. Someone had loved this thing once. Someone had protected it. Probably her mother. "You miss her," he said quietly. Lily's jaw tightened instantly. "Everybody dies." The words hit harder than he expected. Not angry, not dramatic, just exhausted. Somewhere down the street, a group of children ran past laughing while carrying shopping bags and candy canes. Lily watched them disappear into the glowing crowd before quickly looking away again. Keanu studied her carefully. "How long have you been out here?" She shrugged. "Long enough." "Do you have somewhere safe to sleep tonight?" Another shrug. That was answer enough. A police car rolled slowly through the intersection nearby. Lily stiffened immediately, panic flashing across her eyes. She quickly grabbed her bag like she might run at any second. Keanu noticed. "It's okay," he said gently. "I can't stay in one place too long." "Why?" "Because people always make you leave eventually." Something inside Keanu twisted painfully, hearing that spoken so casually by someone so young. Snow continued falling harder now, blanketing the city in white. Across the street, the warm yellow glow from the diner windows reflected against the icy pavement. Inside, families laughed over steaming meals while Christmas songs played softly. Overhead, Keanu looked toward the diner, then back at Lily. "When's the last time you had hot food?" "I'm not hungry." Her stomach betrayed her immediately with a faint growl. For the first time, Keanu smiled slightly. Lily looked embarrassed and turned away. "I know this great secret about diners," he said. "The pancakes taste better. During snowstorms." Despite herself, she glanced at him. "You serious?" "Very." "That sounds fake." "It probably is." A tiny laugh escaped her before she could stop it. The sound was small, fragile, but it completely changed her face. For just a second, Keanu caught a glimpse of who Lily used to be before life hardened. Her into survival mode. Then, the smile vanished again. "You shouldn't sit out here with me," she whispered. "People are taking pictures." Indeed, several pedestrians across the street had phones raised now, murmuring excitedly. Keanu barely looked at them. "Doesn't matter." "It should." "Why?" "Because you're famous." He shrugged lightly. "Tonight you seem more important." Lily stared at him, unsure whether to believe someone could actually mean words like that. The wind howled again, colder this time. Keanu slowly stood and extended a hand toward her. "Come on," he said gently. "Let's get warm." Lily looked at his hand but didn't take it. Fear battled exhaustion behind her eyes. "What if you change your mind?" she asked quietly. Keanu's expression softened. "I won't." For several seconds, she simply stared at him while snowflakes drifted between them under the glowing Christmas lights. Then finally, very slowly, Lily placed her freezing hand into his. Lily's hand was so cold it barely felt real. The moment her fingers touched his, Keanu Reeves felt her hesitation immediately. Not just fear, but the instinctive tension of someone who expected kindness to disappear without warning. Her small hand remained stiff inside his, ready to pull away at the slightest sign of danger. Keanu didn't tighten his grip. He simply held on gently as they crossed the snow-covered street together. Christmas lights reflected across icy pavement while cars crawled slowly through downtown traffic. The diner ahead glowed like a small pocket of warmth against the freezing city night, its fogged-up windows revealing families gathered around booths beneath hanging wreaths and soft golden lamps. As they approached the entrance, Lily suddenly stopped walking. Keanu turned back. "What's wrong?" She lowered her eyes. "I can't go in there." "Why not?" "They'll stare." The quiet shame in her voice hit harder than any dramatic tears could have. Keanu glanced through the windows. People inside laughed over coffee and holiday meals, wrapped in comfort and warmth most of them probably took for granted. Then he looked back at Lily standing beneath the snowfall in soaked boots and a torn coat. Then let them stare. He said softly. Before she could protest again, he opened the diner door. Warm air immediately rushed over them, carrying the smell of coffee, cinnamon, melted butter, and fresh soup. Lily nearly froze in place from the sudden heat alone. After hours outside in brutal December wind, even the air felt unreal. Conversations inside quieted almost instantly. Several customers recognized Keanu at once. But then they noticed Lily. A few people exchanged uncomfortable looks. One woman frowned, slightly seeing snow melting from Lily's ripped clothes onto the floor tiles. A teenage employee near the counter looked uncertain whether to greet them or call the manager. Lily noticed every single reaction. Her hand slipped from Keanu's. "Told you," she whispered. Keanu calmly removed his coat and draped it over her shoulders before anyone could say a word. The heavy warmth nearly swallowed her whole. Then he guided her toward an empty booth near the back window. The waitress approached nervously, clearly starstruck. Mr. Reeves, can I?" Keanu smiled kindly. "2 hot chocolates, please." Lily looked up sharply. "I didn't ask for anything." "I know." The waitress lingered awkwardly for a moment before lowering her voice. "Would you also like menus?" Keanu glanced at Lily. "What sounds good?" She stared at the table silently. It had been so long since someone asked what she wanted that the question itself felt strange. "I don't know." "That's okay," he said. "We'll figure it out." After the waitress left, silence settled between them again. Outside the window, snow continued falling heavily across the glowing streets, while church bells echoed faintly in the distance. Lily carefully removed the music box from inside her coat and placed it on the table beside her like something precious. Keanu nodded toward it. "What song did it play?" Her fingers traced the cracked edge gently. "Something my mom used to hum. You remember it?" "A little." "Can you sing it?" She immediately shook her head. "No." "Why not?" "Because—" She swallowed hard. "I might forget her voice." The words left the air feeling heavier. Keanu leaned back quietly, understanding that kind of fear more than she realized. Losing someone wasn't just pain. It was the terror of slowly forgetting tiny details, the sound of laughter, certain expressions, the warmth of their presence, and sometimes that fear hurt worse than grief itself. The waitress returned carrying 2 steaming mugs of hot chocolate topped with melting whipped cream. Lily stared at hers cautiously, as if expecting someone to suddenly take it away. Keanu noticed. "You can drink it," he said gently. Slowly, Lily wrapped both hands around the mug. The heat against her frozen skin made her eyes flutter shut for half a second. Then she took a careful sip. Almost instantly, emotion flickered across her face. Real warmth, real sweetness. For the first time all night, her body began relaxing without permission. Keanu smiled faintly. "Better than freezing?" She gave the tiniest nod. A family nearby glanced over at them again. Lily immediately shrank lower into the booth. "You don't have to hide," Keanu said. "Yes, I do." "No, you don't." "You don't understand." His expression softened. "Then help me understand." Lily stared down into the swirling, hot chocolate for a long moment before speaking. "People look at homeless people like we did something wrong," she whispered. "Like we're dirty or broken." Her voice remained calm, but pain sat underneath every word. "They look at you," she continued quietly, Like you stopped being human. Keanu didn't interrupt. My mom used to say people only care about sad stories when they happen in movies, Lily said. Not when they're sitting right in front of them. Outside, snow piled thicker against the windows while distant Christmas music drifted softly through the diner speakers. Then Keanu asked the question carefully. What happened to your mom? Everything inside Lily seemed to freeze. Her eyes dropped instantly. For several seconds she said nothing at all. Then finally, barely above a whisper, she got sick. Keanu saw her trying to stay strong, trying not to let emotion crack through. The walls she'd built around herself for survival, but he also saw something else. She was tired, not physically, soul-deep tired, and as she sat there in the warmth clutching that broken music box, while Christmas lights glowed beyond the snowy windows, Keanu realized this girl had been carrying pain far too heavy for someone her age. Then quietly, without looking up, Lily asked the question that made his chest tighten. Why are you being nice to me? For a moment, the sounds of the diner seemed to fade into the background. The laughter from nearby tables, the soft clinking of silverware, the Christmas music drifting through old ceiling speakers, all of it blurred beneath the weight of Lily's question. Why are you being nice to me? She asked it so quietly, so cautiously, like kindness itself was something suspicious, something temporary. Her dark eyes remained fixed on the steaming mug between her hands, afraid to even look at Keanu Reeves while asking. Keanu studied her silently. Most children ask questions with curiosity. Lily asked hers like someone bracing for disappointment. Finally, he leaned back slightly in the booth. Maybe because someone should be. Lily frowned faintly. That's not a real answer. A small smile touched his face. You're pretty honest. You didn't answer. Keanu glanced out the frosted diner window toward the falling snow. For a second, something distant passed across his expression. Not sadness exactly, more like memory. When I was younger, he said quietly, there were times my family struggled too. My mom worked incredibly hard just to keep things together. Lily listened carefully now. We moved around a lot, he continued. Sometimes life changes fast, faster than people expect. You were homeless too? No. He shook his head gently. But I know what loneliness feels like. The honesty in his voice surprised her. Most adults spoke to her with fake sympathy or uncomfortable politeness, but Keanu talked to her like her feelings were real, like her pain wasn't something embarrassing people needed to avoid. Lily stared, down at the music box again. Loneliness feels different outside. Keanu nodded once. I imagine it does. The waitress returned carrying grilled cheese sandwiches and hot soup. Lily's eyes widened slightly at the sight of actual food placed in front of her. Steam rose warmly from the bowl. You didn't have to. I know, Keanu interrupted softly. But I wanted to. Lily hesitated before carefully picking up the spoon. The first bite nearly made her emotional. She hadn't realized how hungry she truly was until warmth spread through her body. Keanu pretended not to notice how fast she started eating. He simply sipped his coffee quietly, giving her dignity. After a few minutes, Lily slowed down, embarrassed. Sorry. For what? I was starving. You don't have to apologize for that. She looked down again. Nobody had spoken to her with this kind of gentleness in months. Outside, snow continued piling across the sidewalks while crowds moved between glowing storefronts carrying wrapped presents and shopping bags. Somewhere nearby, a choir began singing Silent Night, their voices faint beneath the storm. Lily listened for a moment. My mom loved Christmas songs, she whispered. Keanu looked at her carefully. What was she like? For the first time since entering the diner, Lily smiled without forcing it. She sang while cooking, she said softly, even when the food burned. Keanu chuckled quietly. She was terrible at pancakes, too, Lily added. She always flipped them too early. But she kept trying. Every time. The smile faded slowly from Lily's face afterward. She used to play piano at this little church near our apartment. She continued quietly. People would stop outside just to listen sometimes. Keanu noticed the way her fingers unconsciously tapped the table like invisible piano keys. You play too? He asked. Immediately, Lily shook her head. A little, she muttered. A little usually means yes. I'm not good. Who told you that? She didn't answer. That silence told him enough. The diner door suddenly swung open, letting in a burst of freezing wind along with 3 loudly dressed businessmen laughing among themselves. One of them immediately noticed Lily sitting in the booth. His expression changed instantly. He leaned toward the hostess near the entrance. Though he lowered his voice, Lily still heard enough. There's a homeless kid in here? The hostess looked uncomfortable. She's with Keanu Reeves. The man glanced over again, clearly annoyed. Still, customers come here for Christmas. Dinner, not. He gestured vaguely toward Lily. Not what? Not poverty. Not reminders. Lily's appetite vanished immediately. Her shoulders tightened while she stared at the table. Keanu noticed the entire exchange. Slowly, he stood from the booth. The businessman looked surprised as Keanu approached him calmly across the diner. Is there a problem? Keanu asked. The man shifted awkwardly. No problem. Just trying to keep the atmosphere comfortable for families. Keanu's expression never changed. She is a family. The diner fell completely silent. The businessman laughed nervously. Look, I didn't mean anything personal. You didn't have to, Keanu said quietly. There was no anger in his voice. That somehow made it hit harder. The man looked embarrassed now, avoiding eye contact as several nearby customers stared disapprovingly at him. Keanu returned to the booth without another word. Lily kept her eyes lowered. You didn't have to do that. Yes, I did. They were right. No, he said firmly but gently. They weren't. Emotion flickered across her. Face again. That dangerous moment right before tears appear. Lily quickly looked away toward the snowy window, trying desperately to hide it. But months of fear and hunger and loneliness were beginning to crack beneath the warmth of one simple thing she had almost forgotten existed, being treated like she mattered. Outside, church bells began ringing again through the stormy night. And sitting there beneath the soft glow of Christmas lights, Lily suddenly started crying silently into her soup while Keanu Reeves sat beside her, not trying to fix everything, not pretending to save the world, just refusing to let her feel invisible anymore. Lily didn't try to stop the tears anymore. They slipped quietly down her face, disappearing into the steam rising from her soup, as if even her sadness was too tired to make noise. She kept her head down, shoulders shaking slightly, hoping no one in the diner was watching her fall apart. But Keanu Reeves didn't look away. He didn't rush her. Didn't tell her to be strong. Didn't offer empty words meant to make adults feel better about not knowing what else to say. He simply stayed there, steady and present, like a quiet wall against a storm she had been living in alone for too long. Outside the diner window, snow fell harder now, thick white waves covering the city in silence. Christmas lights blurred softly through the frost on the glass, turning the world outside into a glowing, distant memory. Inside, Lily finally whispered through broken breath, I didn't want anyone to see me like this. Keanu nodded slowly. I know. I hate it. You don't have to hate yourself for surviving. That made her pause. She wiped her face quickly with the sleeve of her borrowed coat, embarrassed. I'm not surviving. I'm just Stuck. Keanu leaned forward slightly. Stuck isn't forever. Lily gave a bitter, almost childish laugh. It feels like it. Silence settled again between them, softer this time, less sharp, less afraid. A waitress placed a small plate of cookies on the table without speaking, almost as if she didn't want to interrupt something fragile. Then she quietly walked away. Lily stared at the cookies but didn't touch them. My mom used to say Christmas was about second chances, she said suddenly. Keanu looked at her. Do you believe that? I don't know, she admitted. Second chances don't usually happen for people like me. Why not? She shrugged weakly. People like me don't get picked. The words hit the air heavier than she intended. Keanu was quiet for a moment before replying. Nobody gets picked, Lily. She looked up slightly, confused. Life doesn't choose people, he continued gently, but people can choose each other. That idea seemed foreign to her, almost impossible. Lily glanced down at her music. Box again, turning it slowly in her hands. This was supposed to play music, she whispered. My mom said it would always remind me of her. Did it stop working? She nodded. A long time ago. Do you ever try to fix it? I tried once, it still didn't work. Keanu watched her carefully. Sometimes broken things just need time, or the right help. Lily frowned slightly. Or they stay broken. Before he could respond, a loud crash echoed from the front of the diner. A chair had been knocked over. The same group of businessmen from earlier were leaving now, laughing too loudly, their voices sharp and careless. One of them glanced back toward Lily and muttered something under his breath. Lily heard it. Her body tensed instantly. Keanu noticed immediately. What did he say? He asked quietly. Nothing. That didn't look like nothing. Lily shook, her head quickly. It's fine. But her hands were trembling again. Keanu stood up. Lily grabbed his sleeve instantly. Don't. He looked down at her hand holding him. For a second, she didn't let go. That alone told him everything. He slowly sat back down. I'm used to it, she said quickly. People always say things. That doesn't make it normal, he replied. Lily swallowed hard. If I react, it gets worse. A heavy silence followed. Outside, a siren passed somewhere in the distance, fading into the snowy streets. Keanu leaned back slowly, thinking. Then he said something quietly that made her look up. Where do you sleep? Lily hesitated. Different places. That's not safe. I'm careful. That's not the same thing. Her voice dropped. I don't have another option. Keanu looked at her for a long moment, the weight of her reality settling in fully now. Not just hunger or loneliness, but survival on a level no child should ever have to understand. Finally, he spoke. There's a shelter nearby. Lily shook her head immediately. No. Why not? They make rules. I can't stay if I mess up. What kind of rules? Too many. Keanu nodded slowly, absorbing that. Then gently, he said, You don't have to figure everything out tonight. Lily looked down. For the first time, her voice was smaller than before. I don't want to go back outside. That sentence changed the air completely. No defense, no anger, just honesty. Keanu reached for his coat, then paused. You won't. Lily looked up sharply. What? He met her eyes calmly. You're not going back out there tonight. Panic flickered instantly. You can't just decide that. I'm not deciding, he said gently. I'm making sure you're safe. Her breathing quickened. Years of instability rose to the surface at once. People always say things like that and then they leave, she whispered. Keanu didn't argue. He just said quietly, I'm not leaving you in the snow. Lily stared at him like she was trying to figure out if this was real or just another moment life would take away from her. Then, almost barely audible, "Why?" And Keanu, without drama or performance, simply answered, "Because someone stayed for me once when I needed it." The words landed softly, not explained further. Not turned into a story, just truth. Lily looked down at her music box again, gripping it tighter as if it might disappear. Outside, the snowstorm thickened, covering the world in white silence. And inside the warm diner, for the first time in her life, Lily began to wonder if maybe, just maybe, some people really did stay. Lily didn't speak for a long time. The warmth of the diner, the smell of coffee and melted chocolate, even the distant sound of Christmas music all seemed to blur into something unreal, like a dream she was afraid to wake up from. Her fingers stayed wrapped tightly around the broken music box as if it were the only thing proving she was still herself. Across from her, Keanu Reeves remained quiet too, not pushing her, not filling the silence with words that didn't matter. He simply stayed there, steady and present, as the snow outside thickened against the glass. Finally, Lily whispered, "People don't stay." Keanu looked at her calmly. "Some do." "That's what they all say first." He nodded slowly, accepting that truth without argument. "Then don't believe words. Watch actions." Lily hesitated. "And what are yours?" Keanu didn't answer immediately. Instead, he reached into his coat pocket and placed a small folded piece of paper on the table. Lily stared at it suspiciously. "What is that?" "ND. Address," he said. Her heart tightened instantly. "I told you I'm not going to a shelter." "It's not just a shelter. I don't trust places like that." Keanu nodded again. "I understand." That answer confused her more than anything else. Most adults either insisted or gave up. Very few simply understood. Outside, a gust of wind shook the diner windows. Snow pressed harder against the world like it was trying to erase everything underneath it. Lily didn't touch the paper. Instead, she asked quietly, "Are you going to leave after this?" The question came out smaller than she intended. Keanu looked at her for a long moment. "No," he said. Just one word, but it didn't feel casual. It felt deliberate. Lily searched his face for any sign of hesitation. "You don't even know me." "I know enough," he replied. She shook her head slightly. "You know nothing." Keanu leaned forward a little. "I know you're hungry. I know you're cold. I know you've been alone too long." Lily's throat tightened. "And I know," he continued gently, "that you're still here, even after everything." That hit something deep inside her. Lily quickly looked away, blinking hard. "That doesn't mean anything." "It does," he said quietly. "It means you didn't give up." Her grip on the music box tightened again. "I tried not to care anymore. It hurts less that way." Keanu nodded. "I know that feeling too." Lily frowned slightly. "You don't?" A faint sadness crossed his face. "More than you think." The waitress came by again, slower this time, noticing the shift in mood. "Would you like anything else?" Keanu looked at Lily. "Are you still hungry?" She hesitated. For the first time, she didn't immediately say no. "Maybe." Keanu gave a small nod. "Soup?" Lily gave a tiny shrug. The waitress smiled softly and walked away. A few minutes passed in silence again, but it wasn't the same kind of silence anymore. It felt less like fear and more like exhaustion finally loosening its grip. Lily glanced at the folded paper again. "What's at that address?" Keanu looked at it briefly before answering. "A place where you can sleep safely tonight." "That's it?" "That's a start." She frowned. "Nothing comes for free." He nodded. You're right. That made her uneasy. So what do you want? Keanu's expression softened. Nothing from you, he said. Lily studied him carefully. Nobody does that. He didn't respond to the doubt directly. Instead, he said, sometimes people help because they can. That concept didn't sit right with her. It didn't match her experience of the world. She looked down again. If I go there, I'll still be alone. Keanu shook his head. Not tonight. Her voice cracked slightly. And tomorrow? A pause. Then Keanu answered honestly. Tomorrow we figure out tomorrow. That honesty, uncertain, not pretending, hit her differently than reassurance ever had. Outside, a car alarm briefly echoed, through the snowy street before fading again into silence. Lily finally picked up the folded paper with trembling fingers. She didn't open it yet. Instead, she asked the question she had been avoiding since the beginning. Why are you doing this? Really? Keanu looked at her for a long moment. Then he said quietly, because when I was younger, I learned something, Lily. Waited. That kindness matters most when no one is watching. Silence followed, not empty this time, heavy, meaningful. Lily slowly unfolded the paper. It wasn't much, just an address written in neat handwriting and a note at the bottom that simply said, "You don't have to sleep outside tonight." Her breath shook slightly as she stared at it. For a second, she looked like she might refuse again. Run again, disappear into the streets where fear felt familiar, but her body didn't move. Outside, snow continued falling, covering the city in endless white. Inside, Lily whispered almost to herself, "If I go there, you're really coming too?" Keanu nodded once. "I'm not leaving you in this city alone tonight." And for the first time since Christmas Eve began, Lily didn't argue. She just held the paper in her hands, like it was something fragile enough to break hope all over again. Lily kept staring at the folded paper long after the waitress placed the warm soup in front of her again. The steam rose gently, curling into the cold air around her face, but she barely noticed it now. Her mind was somewhere else. Somewhere unfamiliar, where promises didn't immediately feel like traps. Across from her, Keanu Reeves sat quietly, giving her space to think without pressure. He wasn't rushing her, wasn't repeating himself, just waiting, like time itself had slowed down for this one decision. Outside the diner, snow pressed harder against the glass, blurring the city into soft white shapes. Christmas lights flickered. Through the storm like distant memories, Lily finally whispered, "If I go there, I have to follow rules?" Keanu nodded gently. Yes. Her shoulders tightened again, instinctively. What kind of rules? Basic ones, he said calmly. Safety, respect. No one hurts you there. Lily frowned slightly. What if I mess up? Keanu didn't hesitate. Then you try again. That answer didn't match anything she had experienced before. No punishment, no rejection. Just another chance. She looked down at her soup, then at her music box, then back at the paper. Her voice dropped. People don't usually give second chances. Keanu replied softly. Then maybe you haven't met the right people yet. That sentence stayed in the air longer than the others. Lily slowly folded the paper again, holding it tighter this time. Not like something dangerous, but like something she might lose if she wasn't careful. A strange silence settled between them. Not uncomfortable, just heavy with possibility. Then suddenly, Lily asked, "Are you going to take me there yourself?" Keanu nodded. "If you want me to, and if I say no, then I'll make sure you still get there safely." She studied him carefully. "You don't get tired of helping people?" A faint sadness crossed his face. Helping people isn't what makes you tired. What does? Feeling like you can't help at all. That answer made her look away again. Outside, a group of carolers passed the diner window singing, softly despite the storm. Their voices felt distant, like they belonged to another world entirely. Lily's fingers tapped lightly on the edge of the music box without thinking. Do you believe in… like… She hesitated, struggling to find the words. Things getting better? Keanu thought for a moment before answering honestly. I believe they can, he said. But not alone. Lily frowned. What does that mean? It means people matter, he replied. Connections matter, even small ones. She stared at him quietly. I don't really have those. Keanu looked at her with calm certainty. You do now. That hit her harder than anything else that night. Lily quickly looked down again, blinking fast like she could hide the emotion building behind her eyes. I don't want to get used to this, and then lose it. Keanu nodded, slowly, understanding immediately. That fear makes sense, he said, but it shouldn't stop you from trying. For a long moment she said nothing, then she quietly pushed the empty soup bowl aside. I'll go, she whispered. The words felt small, but they changed everything. Keanu didn't react dramatically. No celebration. No relief that made her feel pressured. He simply nodded once. Okay, he said gently. We'll go together. Lily held the paper tighter. But I'm not promising anything else, she added quickly, defensive again. I don't trust it yet. That's okay, Keanu said. Her eyes narrowed slightly. You're okay with that? Yes. That calm acceptance confused her again. Most people wanted immediate gratitude, immediate trust, immediate change. He didn't. Lily finally stood up slowly from the booth, clutching the music box against her chest like armor. Keanu stood as well, placing a few bills on the table before the waitress could return. As they walked toward the door, the diner felt warmer behind them, almost reluctant to let them leave. Outside, the cold hit instantly. Snow swirled violently. Around the streetlights, wrapping the city in a glowing white storm. Lily hesitated at the threshold. Keanu noticed immediately. You don't have to rush, she swallowed. I'm just not used to leaving warm places. He nodded. I understand. They stepped out together. The moment the door closed behind them, the world became quiet again. Just wind, snow, and the distant sound of Christmas bells echoing through downtown Chicago. Lily pulled her coat tighter. Keanu adjusted his scarf, then looked at her. Ready? She hesitated, then very quietly. No. A pause. Then she added, almost softer. But I'm coming anyway. Keanu gave a small, understanding nod, and together they walked into the snowstorm, away from the lights of the diner, toward a place Lily didn't fully trust yet, but no longer faced alone. The snowstorm swallowed the streets almost immediately. Chicago had turned into a blur of white and gold, streetlights haloed in frost, car headlights fading like distant stars, footsteps disappearing seconds after they were made. The city felt less like a place now and more like a memory trying to erase itself. Lily walked slightly behind Keanu Reeves at first, her fingers clenched tightly around the folded paper in one hand and the broken music box in the other. Every few steps, she looked around like she expected the world to change its mind and take this moment away from her. Keanu noticed without turning fully back. You can walk next to me, he said gently. Lily hesitated. I'm fine here. That's not the same thing. She didn't answer, but slowly, cautiously, she moved closer until she was walking beside him instead of behind. The difference felt strange, not safer exactly, but less invisible. The address on the paper, led them through quieter streets, away from the glowing downtown core. The noise of celebration faded into the background until all that remained was the sound of wind pressing through empty alleys and the soft crunch of snow beneath their steps. Lily finally spoke, her voice small. "If this place is real, why don't more people know about it?" Keanu looked ahead. "Because most people don't end up needing it until they do." That answer lingered between them. They turned down a narrow street lined with old brick buildings. At the end stood a modest structure, warm light glowing faintly through frosted windows. A small sign above the door read, "Harbor Night Shelter." Lily stopped walking completely. Her body tensed instantly. "No," she said under her breath. Keanu paused beside her. "We're here. I can't go in there. You said you would try. I said I'd come, not—" She swallowed. "Not this." Keanu stayed calm. "What's wrong?" Lily stared at the building like it might disappear if she blinked. "Places like this, people ask questions. They look at you like you're a problem they have to fix." Keanu nodded slowly. "Not here." "How do you know?" "I've been here before." That made her look at him sharply. "You've done this before?" He hesitated just slightly before answering. "I've visited places like this. Yes." Lily studied him carefully, trying to understand where he fit in her world. Nothing about him matched what she thought someone like him should be doing in a place like this, in the middle of a storm, standing beside her like she mattered. A door opened. A warm wave of light spilled onto the snowy sidewalk. A woman stepped out, bundled in a thick coat. She looked at Keanu first, recognition flickering across her face, then immediately softened when she saw Lily. "Keanu," she said gently, as if she had been expecting him. He gave a small nod. "We're here." The woman's eyes moved. To Lily, not judgmental, not shocked, just attentive. "You must be freezing," she said kindly. Lily didn't respond. Her feet wouldn't move. Keanu turned slightly toward her. "You don't have to decide everything tonight," he said softly. "Just step inside." Lily's grip tightened around the music box. Inside the shelter, warm light flickered across a small common room. Couches, blankets, quiet conversations, and the smell of soup and fresh bread. People were there, but no one stared. No one pointed. No one made her feel like she was something unusual. That was the part Lily didn't trust. Normal kindness felt more dangerous than cruelty because she didn't know what it cost. A child inside laughed softly at something on television. The sound made Lily's chest tighten unexpectedly. Her voice cracked. "What if I don't belong here?" Keanu answered without hesitation. "Then you learn." A long silence followed. Snow piled behind them on the street as if the world outside was slowly being buried. Lily finally stepped forward, but only one step. Then another. Each movement felt heavier than the last, like she was crossing into something she didn't have permission to enter. As she reached the doorway, she stopped again. "I'm scared," she admitted quietly. Keanu nodded. "I know. I don't know how to stay somewhere safe." "You don't have to know yet." That didn't erase her fear, but it softened it. Inside the shelter, a woman placed a warm blanket near the entrance. "You can just sit for now," she said gently. "No pressure." Lily looked at the blanket like it might burn her. Then, slowly, she stepped inside. The warmth hit her all at once. Not just temperature, something deeper. Her knees almost weakened from it. Keanu stayed just behind her, not pushing her further, just there so she wouldn't feel alone in the moment. Lily took a shaky breath. For the first time in a long time, she wasn't outside in the cold. But instead of relief, something else rose inside her. Fear of what came next. Because warmth meant staying, and staying meant hoping, and hoping meant she could lose it again. She clutched the music box tighter and whispered, barely audible, If I stay, don't disappear. Keanu looked at her, steady as ever. I'm not going anywhere tonight, he said. And for the first time, since Christmas Eve began, Lily didn't step back into the snow. She stayed,